Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the Plan Commission regular meeting for April 7th. At this time, we'll stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is roll call. Sergio, please.
Bob Rolson,
Here.
Yolanda Cardona,
I'm here.
John Gill,
Here.
Donna Little,
Here.
Jason Vlasic,
Here.
Nancy Woland,
Here.
John Kennedy,
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker,
Here.
Engineer Ken Kraus.
Here.
You have quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes. We have Plan Commission study session, August 19th. We have Plan Commission regular meeting, September 2nd, and regular meeting, October 7th. We can take those individually if you prefer, or we can take them all together.
Mr. President, there was it looks like there was an addition of another set of minutes for September 16th.
I did get those, but since they weren't on the agenda,
Okay.
we'll hold them off to the next meeting.
Sounds good.
All right, I did. Thank you for bringing that to attention. So it's the pleasure of the board, how they want to handle the minutes.
Do them all.
Okay, go ahead.
Like to make a motion for approval of August 19th, 2020 study session minutes and the regular meeting minutes of September 2nd and October 7th, 2020.
So I got a motion to approve all 3 sets of minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Yolanda.
I have a second by Yolanda. I'll open it up to discussion. Is there any discussion regarding those minutes? Hearing no discussion and the clock is chimed, we will take roll call.
Sorry, yes. Bob Rolson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes, motion to approve for all 3 sets. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have public hearings. We have 3 public hearings tonight. First one on the agenda is replat of lots 1 and 2 in the preserves at Shelton Hills First Re-Subdivision. Sergio, is everything in place for the public hearing?
Everything is in order for the public hearing. Mr. President, I just want to let you know that I did receive an email yesterday, so when public comments come in, we can read this into the record.
Very good. Before I open it up to public hearing, we have Doug. Doug, how are you, sir? If you want to refresh the board's memory and the public on what's being proposed.
Sure. Doug Reddick with PVG. We're here, I'm representing Rob Paulson, who's sitting right behind me here. He's a landowner. He purchased 2 lots in the Preserve at Shelton Hills subdivision, and he's wishing to combine them into one larger lot, hence the 1-lot subdivision that we're here tonight for public hearing. So it's pretty straightforward since the engineering was all done and the project was built several years ago. So all the utilities are in place, the detention's accounted for. There's really just a formality of combining the lots. And there'll be some discussion about curbs and sidewalk along 93rd Avenue as to whether it's required or not, because it was not required when the project was originally built. And if this was going to be built as 2 homes, then it would not be an issue because it wouldn't be required. But we are re-subdividing it, so we can open up that for discussion. But it's as simple as that. We're combining 2 lots into 1 large lot.
Very good. I'll bring it back to the board before I open it up to public hearing. Any comments, discussion from the board? And just so that you understand it, what Doug said, since if this would stay as 2 individual lots, they would not be required to put sidewalk and curb in. But since they are replatting, which is technically a new subdivision, any prior waivers do not exist, so they would have to go through any waiver for sidewalk and curb now. So that's why this discussion will have to occur. So with that, if there's no comments or questions from the board, I will open it up to public hearing. At this time, the public hearing is now open for the primary or replat of the preserves at Chilton Hills. Is there anyone from the general public that would like to speak? Sir, if you would be so kind to state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure. My name is Martin Grushka, and I'm at 9315 Columbia Court. So my house actually faces the proposed house, and the two lots. And what I just, I have no problem with combining the properties. I think it'll be nice. I do have a concern though if we're going to require, if there's going to be a requirement of having a sidewalk along 93rd. I have grandchildren that come over, and I really would not like to have a sidewalk along that stretch of 93rd with that curve. I would ask any of you to, stand out there, especially in the evening, and just see how close the cars are and how fast they travel. It, to me, would be a safety issue having a sidewalk there, and especially since it doesn't connect to anywhere. It really wouldn't connect up to anything. So, I just don't feel that there would be value there, and actually, I feel it would be dangerous to have that. I myself would not walk on that sidewalk. So I just feel it'd be, I like the intention of what's, being thought of, but the practicality of that location just doesn't make sense to me. So that's really what I wanted to say.
Well, I appreciate you coming out tonight and making those comments. Thank you very much. Anyone? Yep, sir, please, again, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Steve Horton. I live at 9335 Columbia Court within the subdivision there. I too would like to voice my opinion on the issue. I'm here in multiple facets as well. This is my father-in-law that is asking for these variances. But again, we lived there for an entire year outside of him. We enjoy our subdivision, and it is a great concern of having the sidewalk, basically eject out onto 93rd Street, where there is a turn lane that gets used as a passing lane. So, in that aspect, as a homeowner within that subdivision, I too would not think that that's the best option for the subdivision, especially, again, since it doesn't connect to anything outside of that single lot. It's 200 feet of sidewalk that would lead to nowhere on both ends. So in that capacity, that's what I would have to say as a homeowner within the subdivision. And, if there needs to be any kind of further information, I guess I'd open myself up for it, because I've been obviously helping my father-in-law and Doug get to this point. Is there any other questions or concerns?
Maybe we'll have, after the public
Okay.
comment hearing, we'll bring that to, and if
Okay.
the board has any questions.
Thank you.
Sir. No, thank you. Again, any other comments for the public hearing regarding the preserves at Chilton Hills re-subdivision?
I'd just like to say something.
Oh, again, name and address, please.
It's Robert Paulson, Robert W. Paulson, S-E-N. And if we agree on doing and going forward with this, we'll be at 9316. It'll be the new address for the lot there. We planned it. We just wanted. We figured we'd build here so we'd be next to our grandkids and our daughter, and this will be our last house, hopefully. And we're going to end up actually with 9 children under the age of 4. They're going to be playing in that street. And I've already managed chasing our Steve's 3-year-old Maverick on his little Strider bike. I couldn't even keep up with him. He took off towards the end of that street. So I think it's a safety issue. And, if the lot was flat and level, I wouldn't have probably wouldn't have a problem with it. But we're already thousands of dollars into this process. I have no idea what it's going to cost to put a sidewalk in there, the equipment that's going to take the topographically, all the flagstone walls are there. That would all have to be tore out, and just can't. I don't think my wife and I could afford to do that. So, but it's mainly just, it's a safety issue, and that's our concern, is just keep all the kids safe.
Mr. Paulson, thank you very much for
Yeah,
your
thank you.
comments.
Thank you for your time.
No. Anyone else in the public or online? Sergio, you said you had a letter?
I do. I received an email on Tuesday, April 6th from Gregory Tippery of 9639 Maginot Circle in St. John. Would you like me to read that?
Please.
In the matter of 2021-04, the Preserve at Chilton Hills First Re-Subdivision Primary Plat, replat of lots 1 and 2 for one single-family lot on 1 acre and curb and sidewalk waiver along 93rd Avenue for consideration at 9320 Columbia Court. I object to the sidewalk waiver along 93rd Avenue at 9320 Columbia Court. It's important to adhere to existing subdivision ordinance to require sidewalks. Sidewalk at 9320 Columbia Court is a positive step in connecting the disconnected subdivision in St. John. I certainly support the combining of lots 1 and 2 to one single-family lot, provided no sidewalk waiver is granted. Gregory Tippery.
Good. Any other comments from the board, or I'm sorry, from the floor, before I close public hearing? Going once, going twice. The public hearing is now closed for the preserves at Chilton Hills. I will bring it back to the board for comments, discussions. Mr. Horton has offered to answer any questions the board might have regarding this. And Mr. Horton, if I recall, during the study session, you would want us to address the waivers first before we proceed with any decision on the replat or
That's
rezone.
correct.
Okay. Adam, is that appropriate?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it would be appropriate.
All right. With that, I will bring it to the board if they have any questions or comments, and open it up for discussion for us to make a determination per waivers for sidewalk and curb.
John, this is Yolanda. Sorry, go ahead, Donna.
Nope. Floor is yours, I believe.
Okay, sorry, I thought I heard somebody. Quick question. So is there, I'm looking at Google Maps, there is no sidewalk that would potentially be on the, that would be the southeast corner of that area of Columbia and 93rd?
That is correct. There is
So
no-
there is no sidewalk. So if we were to not grant the waiver, there would only be essentially a sidewalk on the southwest section of the intersection. Is that right?
He would be required, if I'm not mistaken, he would be required to put sidewalk along his northern border and his eastern border. He would
Okay,
be required to put sidewalk along. Now, the width of the sidewalk would be different, because I believe our new subdivision ordinance requires 9 feet?
8 feet on
8 feet on the north side, and then it would be the standard sidewalk on the eastern border.
Okay.
So I've been on this board for a while, and so I'll give you my opinion. My first opinion is waiver for, I would consider approval for waiver for curb. I believe that would be an unnecessary burden on a individual homeowner. If this was a developer, no offense, Jack, but I would require a curb for him, a developer to put in. For an individual homeowner, I would say it would be, and that's a standard that we want throughout the city, throughout the town, so having a homeowner do that. Regarding the sidewalk, this is, I understand every logical explanation you have said. However, in the past, and I know every project is unique, we have, if we don't start requiring sidewalk, we'll never have sidewalk. And let me get my 2 cents in, and then we could discuss that. Now, what I would suggest, or make some sort of consideration, is no sidewalk on your eastern border. and no sidewalk. There's no other, I don't think any future homeowner would put a sidewalk in. I'm not speaking for you, but I would just imagine. But at some point in the future, it will be someone's responsibility, if we want connectivity within our town, it would be somebody's responsibility to put that in. Right now, our ordinance would say it would be whoever is developing this lot. So if you don't do it, it falls on the town's responsibility to do it at some future date. Have we approved or made people put in sidewalks to nowhere? Absolutely, because we got to start the process sooner or later. So that is my 2 cents. I am 1 vote, but that's how I would approach something like this. Even understanding, I live just north of you. It is a beautiful subdivision. The homes are spectacular and the landscaping is beautiful. But at some point or another, we got to start setting a standard of having sidewalks and a pathway to make this a more walkable. And I understand the safety issue. That is a road, but we got to get kids off the road and streets, and I don't know what the best way to do it other than having people put sidewalks in. So,
John, did I understand you right? You would say you'd waive the sidewalk along
his eastern border,
the cul-de-sac street.
nothing on the cul-de-sac street.
Eastern, where's the eastern border then?
That would be the cul-de-sac street.
That would be
That's
the
the
cul-de-sac street, yep.
You'd wait, because
I-
there's sidewalk already in some of it.
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
That's where-
Yeah,
Oh, there is.
yeah, there's sidewalk on one of the
I
pictures.
apologize. I thought it was all no sidewalk.
Yeah, no, if you look, whatever lot 7 or 4, I saw
There's
sidewalk.
Every house connected.
I
Yeah, every
apologize.
house
Oh, then I
that
would-
fronts the street has
And my
sidewalk.
mistake. I misread that. Then no, I would not waive. I would require sidewalks along the whole corridor. I apologize.
Yeah.
Mr. Horton,
So if I may, one thing that you said, you mentioned that somebody's gonna have to bite the bullet, and that somebody is my father-in-law. That's an individual homeowner that bought 2 lots that were developed by a developer that, regardless of developer, they've made their money on it. And the town, at that point in time, when the developer made the approval, or asked for the approvals for that subdivision, the town made a decision. I understand, just like Doug mentioned earlier, that the processes that the town currently has to conjoin 2 lots, we call it a re-subdivision. I mean, I'm in the construction field, but I would consider a subdivision, roads, plumbing, sewer, water. I mean, that's a development, right? We're not developing that. We're dividing a lot that was already developed. So the processes are obviously not in the favor of the homeowner. And the fact that, the town, and we're having this conversation, is willing to put that in the owner's expense is very harsh. And then when we're looking at it, there's not sidewalks for over a mile going to the east. And, going to the west, it's, almost 500 feet that does not exist. So when we talk of cost, somebody's gonna have to pay that, and the town is gonna have to pay that. So basically what we're doing is the town is taking 200 feet of sidewalk and put it onto a homeowner's responsibility when, if we don't develop the 2 lots, you don't get the sidewalk.
so are you still proposing, when you ask for a sidewalk waiver, are you asking for a waiver on the east side or just the north side?
Just the north side, to the road. The east side, all the other homes have it, we're connecting it. It'd be great.
Typically, sidewalks go in just beyond the right-of-way. I mean, like half a foot beyond the right-of-way, along the right-of-way, the outermost part of the right-of-way. I noticed in one of the pictures, there was a 5-foot, someone in red pin put in 5 feet. I don't know if it'd be like way too risky to have that sidewalk in that area along the road instead of putting it on the right-of-way, so we don't have to wipe out landscaping. I don't know what people's thought.
It is
There's another picture better.
He makes a valid point. I'm not saying any of the points are not valid. He makes some very valid points. Is it better for the town to do it at one uniform time when they're doing a
Might have been the
larger
first.
stretch of area? That's-
Oh, here it is.
You're absolutely right.
And I understand that, but, and that's why we're having the conversation.
Absolutely.
But like I said, for my father-in-law, I understand that the town's not worried about his financial capabilities, right? But the financial burden we've already exceeded right now, on top of something that was never part of an original drawing, and then again, due to semantics, we're here today. We'll just leave it to single lot, and you still don't get the sidewalk. That's like the biggest thing for me is,
Right.
we're really putting it on a homeowner, and that's you know. hope
Doug,
that
I have a
doesn't
question for you. Where is the right of way? Is it just at this, see where the picture where the 5 is? Is it just to the left of that culvert? Is that where, that's what it looked
Yeah.
like on one of the
Yeah,
plats.
maybe just a little bit further than that, to the left.
So it's kind of going through that area.
Yeah, and so when you look at the other pictures, you'll see the elevation changes,
Yeah.
that, you know, there's a culvert. I mean, none of it was engineered to be there, and now we're asking a homeowner to do, yeah.
And honestly, with the swale that's there, the reason that culvert is there, it's a large, that 18 or 24-inch pipe, a lot of water goes through there. We'd have to
Yeah.
rework that
If you can go down to that picture.
and possibly even dedicate additional right. We've already dedicated 40 feet of right of way with the original subdivision. Either gonna have a sidewalk on private property, or additional right of way, or an easement would have to be created for that that sidewalk, because it would have to kind of meander through there to get through the berms and keep that water flowing through there. And you guys don't typically allow a sidewalk on private property.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I was just trying to find a kind of a common ground. If there is one.
Thank you for catching that with the
So-
sidewalks on the cul-de-sac. I just read that wholly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the original layout. Obviously, that's what my father-in-law purchased the 2 lots based off of. So again, just being blindsided a little bit on the processes, I guess. You know, at the time when we originally, before we bought it, there was a previous board member or chairman that is no longer here, did not express those concerns to us when we, you know, bought the lot. So, and that's where we are today.
Hypothetical, how would you propose the eastern sidewalk? Would it go all the way up to 93rd with some sort of ramp? Or how would you do that?
So right now, we kind of have it laid out on the current drawing, but.
Lot 7, they went across to the current.
Yeah,
We would just line
basically
up with that.
equal the current sidewalk.
So we'd cut the curb down and put an ADA ramp to line up with the one across the street.
So it
which is
wouldn't,
right-
so wouldn't go all the way out to 93rd?
No, and I would, I mean, again, being a homeowner within the subdivision, I would be deathly afraid of putting my kids that close to 93rd Street. If you guys want to sit out there in the evening, in the afternoon, and watch them fly by in that turn lane, you guys would think the same thing. Gonna have 4 young kids, and, you know, connectivity to a subdivision, great. If a subdivision in the next 20 years comes through the preserves, right, because we got to make our way through the preserves into that, then, you know, we could absolutely, I mean, again, you're connected to a cul-de-sac, so that's the original layout from 2014, I think. And, you know, we're proposing to cut that, see how that puts you right out there? That turn lane right there is a NASCAR passing lane. So if you put that out there, I guarantee my little guy on the Strider will end up, you know, as much as I can, everybody, I don't know who has kids here, it's hard to control them at all times 100%.
Well, I think you're obligated to put that sidewalk in where it shows right there turning. I don't know if I necessarily make that 90-degree turn because now it has nowhere to
Right.
go.
It has nowhere to go. That's the
But
problem.
at least dead end it, I think you're obligated.
I
per
mean,
the-
we
per
could
the-
dead end it, but I mean, I
Yeah.
would like to dead end it a little further back, because again, if you guys want to come live with me for a day and see how.
No,
they
I
interact-
understand that. I live on Joliet Street, and there's kids riding their bikes on the road on Joliet
Sure.
Street, just east of 41.
Sure.
They don't even have a sidewalk. They gotta ride out in the road.
Sure.
So if kids wanna go to Dairy Queen in this area, where they go?
Sure.
You know, they go on
And-
93rd, or they
and I do
meander through the
understand what the
subdivision.
town is doing with the sidewalk, and definitely not opposed to that. I enjoy that. I impose the financial burden that's not getting put on a developer. I'll stand with you 100% when we're talking developers that are making money off of the land, right? So obviously, safety is our number one concern. But when are we making connections to that sidewalk?
No one knows.
You know,
That's
so it-
outside of our
That's
jurisdiction.
outside of our.
That's a town council
Understood, but that,
responsibility.
you know, that does play a factor. I mean, if we were saying, hey, in the next year, you're gonna have connectivity. Well, all right, let's communicate it, but at the same token, going to the island of nowhere for the next 20 years?
Well, we're hoping if we get these islands of nowhere, they start to connect. So let me bring it back to the board let's open it up. Let's start with, we'll go with the curb. If there's any consideration for a curb waiver. Is there any consideration for a curb waiver? If there is, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Donna. I would consider a curb waiver.
Is that a
This is
motion?
Nancy, I second that.
Okay. Donna, was that a motion?
I will make a motion to allow a curb waiver.
Okay, so I have a motion. Nancy, you have a second for a waiver of a curb. That curb would have been on the north end of 93rd. Here is we got a first and a second discussion from the board. Sergio, roll call.
Robert Brolson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes, so we got that one down. So the one that's of concern, bring it back to the board. We've heard what Mr. Horton has commented. Very valid point from what people have talked in public hearing. So the question is waiver of a sidewalk. So the waiver, from my understanding, would just be for the northern section of his lot. I would like to get, and then we would need to determine the length of sidewalk on the eastern part, whether it's from his originally proposed, from the initial proposal, which brings it out to closer to 93rd, or what he is asking to cut it back to the property owner to his east. So I'll bring it back to the board for discussion.
So it's not almost two motions then, ain't it, or no?
It would be a motion, it would be a waiver or not.
Yeah, or a
based
waiver, yeah.
on contingency of sidewalk to the east and based on what dimensions in this drawing or tying it up to the other sidewalk on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doug has that on.
Okay. So those would be, so Adam, is that appropriate, one waiver with contingency, or would it be multiple waivers depending on how the board wants to take this? Two?
Yes, Mr. President, I think you're describing two separate waivers,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. And so I would probably recommend that the board consider it in that way.
So the first waiver would be on the north end, second waiver would be the length of the sidewalk on the eastern property line.
I believe that's my understanding of the discussion.
Okay.
When you say the north side, you're referring to
93rd Avenue.
right, the sidewalk along the southern part of the right-of-way, which is 93rd
Yes.
Avenue.
All right.
Yes.
So let's address the sidewalk waiver on the southern, northern property line or south side of 93rd. I'll open it up for discussion, consideration.
Want to make a motion to deny a waiver for sidewalk on the northern part of Lot 1, south side of 93rd.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second. Discussion? So gentlemen, I appreciate your motion. I think Mr. Horton has made, and I'm on my soapbox all the time for sidewalks. I am. I think in this case, he has made a valid reason for for allowing the waiver, and I can't, so, because it is a individual property owner at this time. So, all right. There's my 2 cents. Any other discussion or concern? If not, roll call, please. Oh,
Could you repeat the motion, please?
The motion is to deny a waiver of sidewalk on the northern property or the southern section of 93rd. It's to deny a waiver. That means they would be required, if the approval for replat, to put a sidewalk in. Sergio, roll call?
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
No.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
No.
John Kennedy.
No. Motion passes 4-3. The waiver was denied. Gentlemen, how would you want to proceed?
You have to give us a minute for that. We're gonna have to talk about it outside if you don't mind.
We got options. We could defer the replat if you want us to defer to the next meeting.
This is utterly ridiculous, to be honest with you.
Are you willing to close 93rd Avenue down, bring a backhoe in there?
Sir, we could defer the motion has been, we could defer the replat or we can move forward with it depending on how you want to proceed.
If you defer, you gotta come back in a month.
I understand. We have a couple other motions to do. Are we able to defer it to the end of this meeting? This is a big decision that we
Understand?
honestly didn't think the board members would bring us to this point.
Okay.
Obviously, they don't listen
Can we do, okay.
to Tom.
Yeah,
We'll bring-
if you want, if the board wants to take this matter up for consideration later in the meeting, I think it has that authority
Okay.
to do so.
I will bring this back then to the board for the board decision. We are a democracy, so is there a motion to move this agenda item to the back of to the end of the meeting so they can make a decision? Can I unilaterally do that as the chairman?
I'd like to make a motion to give them the opportunity to have this agenda at the end of the meeting.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes. Gentlemen, we will have you put down after item number before public hearing announcements.
Very good, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you for that, Curtis.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have another public hearing. We have Greystone Unit 3, primary plat, 102 single-family lot subdivision. Everything good for the public hearing?
Yes, everything was received for the public hearing.
We have everything good for the public hearing. Before I open it up to public hearing, Jack, do you want to give us a refresher, please? Good evening,
Yes.
by the way.
Good evening. Jack Slager with Schilling Development, representing CWS Holdings, the developer of Greystone. This project is a 40-acre parcel on the west side of Calumet, south of Greystone Unit 2. And we started this process mid-year last year in about June. Multiple Plan Commission meetings, study sessions, and came to consensus. And in December of last year, the Plan Commission made a recommendation to the Town Council for a PUD, residential PUD zoning. This will be developed into 102 single-family lots with higher than normal architectural standards. And so that was part of the trade-off to go to a R2 style lot, a 80 by 140 single-family lot. And so we did receive the favorable recommendation in December of last year. It went to the Town Council earlier this year. The PUD zoning was approved. So we're here tonight to hold our public hearing for our primary plat. We did receive the letter of review from Ken Kraus earlier this week that the engineering has been reviewed and approved. And we've done all our advertising, the paper, the sign, the notices, and so we're ready to hold our public hearing for primary plat tonight. I did get one more green card back this week, so.
All right. Any comments, questions from the board before I open it up to public comment? Before I do that, I'll read Ken Krause's letter for the board. This is addressed to Mr. Kennedy, Greystone of St. John Unit 3. We have reviewed the primary plat for the reference project and have the following comments. 1, the project includes 102 R3 PUD lots, 3 outlots, associated infrastructure and facilities on 44.864 acres. 2, we have reviewed the plans prepared by Manhard Consulting dated January 28, 2001, and revised March 24, 2001, and find them to be satisfactory. 3, the application fee of $1,500 is to be paid prior to the Plan Commission primary plat approval. Was that received?
I believe we paid that last.
That was paid last
Okay.
May or June, I think it was.
Very good. A development fee which will be calculated at 2% of construction costs minus the paid $1,500 application fee, which is due prior to secondary plat approval. And the stormwater pollution prevention plan has not been reviewed at this time. The fee for that review will be determined at the time of review. Sincerely, Ken Kraus. So with that, I will open it up to public hearing. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone want to comment regarding primary plat of Greystone Unit 3? Sir, if you would address the podium, if you would, give your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Bill Splant. We live on 109th, so south of this. We live on the north, on the west end. That's a dead end, right? So we're at the very last parcel to the north. This subdivision comes to the edge of, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the Sycamore Farm? Yeah. And is it part of Krilich's property that's being acquired? Not yet, right? Okay, because I haven't talked to Paul about it. I just want to inquire on the stormwater, that's all, because a lot of water in that area flows through, and I think.
Sir, sir, please address the board. I appreciate that.
So there's a lot of water, and there's a 15-inch drain tile that runs through my property at the very end. That is what culminates all this stormwater. I want to verify that it's going to be addressed to not cause issue at our end.
After the public hearing, I will turn it over to Ken Kraus, the town engineer.
Okay.
Ken, if you'd be prepared to answer that or discuss that, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern.
Okay.
And then along with this, these are the.
Sir, to the board, please.
These
I'm
are
sorry.
not the, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No,
Yeah, these are not the multi.
our single-family units.
And this is not, I don't know, the R1, R2. These are the mid-sized lots, not smaller lots. Is that what we're talking?
They range from 80, I think there's 80, 90, and several hundreds.
At least it's not a bunch of duplexes going in,
No,
right?
it's all single-family units.
Fair enough, because there's plenty of those there. That's
Yeah.
what I was concerned with as well.
They're all single-family.
Very good, enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to speak regarding the primary plat for Greystone Unit 3? Name and address for the podium, at the podium, please.
Marion Hardigan. My address is 14729 Greystone. My house faces the open field, and I've noticed lately we've had more water than we did when we first moved in, so I'm assuming it's with construction. But I do have a question. How far is the walking path going to be from, like, my property line south? Do we know that?
Where are you at?
I'm lot 190, so I'm at the very end of Greystone on the west side.
190, okay.
Yeah, 190, you're looking at 20, oh God, 40, at least 40 feet?
From my property.
From your property line, from your
Okay.
back, based on the drawing I'm looking at right now up there,
Okay.
I'm looking at two 20-foot segments plus a couple additional feet,
Okay.
maybe 45 feet.
Okay. So not on top of our house?
I'm not an engineer, so you gotta, you
No
got,
problem.
but it looks based on this drawing,
It might
2020.
even be more too.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's 75, but that's up here. Yeah, it's over 50.
Thank you.
these guys are a lot smarter than I am. Anyone else? Sergio, did we get anything from electronically or
Did
anyone
not
deliver
receive
anything?
anything as of 6:30 this evening.
All right, with that, I'm gonna close the public hearing, going once, going twice. Public hearing is closed. Ken, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat. A gentleman talked about stormwater concerns. Is there anything that you can speak of to resolve any concerns he might have? Ken?
I can answer that if he doesn't come back.
Sorry, I had
Oh,
the
there he is.
mute on, realize it. If Sergio could put on sheet 4 for everyone to see. Yeah, that's the one. If you look close along the south property line, you'll see a series of pipes and inlets. It's hard to tell on this one, but the size of that pipe ranges from 12-inch all the way down to 24-inch along the south end. And then if you look at the west side, there's several other storm sewer lines to pick up that water from adjacent properties, and those are all 12 to 15-inch sewers. So I think we're going to be able to capture the offsite water okay, and everything it goes into the southeast corner where the pond is, Pond E, and that discharges across the street under a culvert pipe that goes to another detention basin before it's released into the ditch. So it's just a matter of finding where that existing 15-inch field tile is and tie it into the system.
And Ken, our subdivision control ordinance requires all water to be contained on site, correct?
Correct.
All right, so,
So that's gonna prevent water that used to go west, send it back east potentially.
Yeah, everything's going east under Calumet, catches it all right at the south border. The property sits pretty high right in the middle, kind of crowns off in all directions. So we've got storm sewer completely around the entire property, channeling everything to that small pond in the corner, and then ultimately under Calumet Avenue, through the other section of Greystone, through the pond, and out to the creek.
I mean, at least it's going the other direction, that might reduce what comes through us, you know what I mean, more or less.
Yeah, you've got a low corner down southwest
All
of
goes
it.
downhill
Yeah.
from there, yeah, and that's when the next, I don't know if you have another phase with Krillich involved, I know he's talking about.
This is all we have right now.
Yeah, right on, okay. No,
all right.
good to know, you know.
Thank you very much, sir, appreciate it. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. With that, I'll bring it back to the board. Public hearing is closed. This is for action for the Plan Commission to approve, deny, or defer primary plat.
Want to make a motion to approve Greystone Unit 3 primary plat.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I will second. This is Donna.
I have a second by Donna. Any discussion from the board before I ask for roll call? Hearing no discussion, we got a motion to approve. If I can get roll call, please.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona, Yolanda Cardona. All right, we can come back.
Did you send a message saying yes?
She did.
Yeah, gonna have to take your word on it.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
and John Kennedy.
Just for the record, I'm going to vote no, just for the sure, I'm just concerned with the removal of curb from the site plan, or primary plat in lieu of the sidewalk. So, but the motion passes for primary plat.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing for ordinance 1483. Are we good for the public hearing?
Yes, we did meet the public hearing.
All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam. Adam, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. If you could refresh the board and the general public, what is being, this, again, a recommendation. Is this a recommendation? This is a
Mr. Chairman, yes. What's
Recommendation.
being considered tonight is a revision to the town zoning ordinance, which is known as Ordinance 1483. Currently, the zoning ordinance requires for any type of appeal to the Board of Zoning Appeals that there be notice given in 2 separate newspapers, and that notice be given at least 15 days to interested parties in advance of that hearing. The purpose of the amendment is to essentially only require one legal notice in one newspaper of general circulation, and to require that notice be published at least 10 days prior to the appointed time of the hearing. And that's done, that revision's being made to make that in accord with state law that basically has a similar requirement for publication and the number of days in advance of the hearing that publication must be had. So specifically, the amendment to the zoning ordinance would be found in section D10, which is entitled Public Hearings, set forth in chapter 18 of the zoning ordinance 1483, as same has been amended by town ordinance 1652. And under section D10, Public Hearings, it would provide that upon the filing with the Board of Zoning Appeals of an appeal or of an application for special exception, special use, contingent use, conditional use, variance, or variance of use, a reasonable time and place for public hearing thereon shall be established, and notice thereof shall be given as follows. A, by publishing one legal notice in one newspaper of general circulation having daily publication, with publication to appear at least 10 days before the date fixed for the public hearing. B, by giving personal notice of at least 10 days prior to the appointed time of said hearing to all owners of property within 300 feet of the lot, parcel, or building in question. The foregoing parties shall be deemed interested parties pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-4-920. Notice shall be in the form of a written notice thereof by certified mail, return receipt requested to the last known address of the property owner. The last known address shall be as shown by the most recent auditor's transfer list in Lake County, Indiana. And finally, C, the notice herein required shall be on a form approved by the board. So much of that provision hasn't been changed, but the 2 changes are 15 days to 10 days and changing it from 2 newspapers to 1 newspaper. And so this is a recommendation that you're making. It is required that this change in the zoning ordinance be considered following a public hearing, and it's a recommendation favorable or not favorable to the town council.
Okay. And just for some institutional knowledge for some of the newer board members, we've had some instances where a petitioner would come in 14 days for a hearing and request a waiver, even though the state only required 10, and it was perceived that we were breaking the rules. Even though our rules were more stringent than the state, This is just to sort of make our rules in line with what the state rules are. So just for some institutional knowledge on why the recommended changes. So with that, I will bring it back to the board for, this again would be a favorable, unfavorable recommendation for the town council to consider.
Want to make a motion for a favorable,
Wait, I'm sorry. Did I open it up to a public hearing?
I don't think you have conducted the public hearing yet.
I apologize.
okay,
At this
Yep.
time, I will open it up to,
Forgot about it,
I will open it up to public hearing. If there is anyone from the floor that would like to speak regarding amendment to ordinance 1483. Have we received anything electronically?
I have not received anything.
Okay. Again, if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak. Going once. Going twice. Public hearing is now closed. I apologize for that. Bring it back to the board for a recommendation to the town council.
I'd like to make a favorable recommendation to amend ordinance 1483, chapter 18, entitled Administration and Enforcement, section D 110.
I have a favorable recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Jack. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. Sergio, roll call, please.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes, motion carries. Favorable motion carries. Or recommendation, sorry. Next, new old business. We have a plan commission action regarding plan commission rules and regulations, Article 5, Section 3. Adam, I'll turn it over to you again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the proposed resolution that is considered for action this evening is to approve a change to the rules and regulations of the Plan Commission to be consistent with state law with regard to the notice requirements for those petitioners that are appearing before the Plan Commission. So currently, the rules and regulations provide that all notices of a public hearing are required to be published in 2 newspapers at least 15 days in advance of the hearing. And the purpose of the amendment to Article 5, Section 3, which is entitled Notice Requirements, is to require that there only be one legal notice in one newspaper, and that that notice be published at least 10 days in advance of the meeting and hearing. This is consistent with the recommendation you've just made for the changes to the zoning ordinance. So this will simply make your rules and regulations for the Plan Commission consistent with the changes that are anticipated to be made to the zoning ordinance.
Very good. Bring it to the board for discussion. Just to let you know, the BZA recently changed our rules and regulations to mirror these ones that are being considered by the Plan Commission, as well as their mirror the state rules and regulations. So, discussion, if not, entertain a motion to approve, deny, or defer
This is
the
a
amendment to the rules.
recommendation.
No, this is actually, so this is not a recommendation. This would be a motion
For us
to
to-
approve
Okay.
an amendment to the Plan Commission's rules and regulations. So this is not going to be forwarded to
Okay.
the town council. This is action that you would
We'll
consider
change our
tonight.
rules.
Okay. I want to make a motion to approve amendment to Plan Commission Rules and Regulations, Article 5, Section 3, entitled Notice Requirements.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll make a motion to second.
I have a second by Nancy. Questions, discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call, please.
Bob Burleson,
Wait, I'm sorry, was there someone that wanted to make a comment? All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, Sergio.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
and John Kennedy.
Yes. Amendment is approved. Next on the agenda, item E, Parish Woods, proposed plat review. Is there anyone here representing Parish Woods?
You have a drawing?
Can I get a motion to defer? Do I need to defer?
Is he online?
Oh.
I'm not sure if he's online or if he's gonna call in or send someone to call in. Is anyone here for that? I mean, no, we can.
Do we need to take any action, or do we need to defer? Can I get a motion to defer Parish Woods to next meeting or study session preferably?
Make a motion to defer Parish Woods
I have a
to
mo-
a study session.
I have a motion to defer. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We got a second by Nancy. Roll call, please.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes, motion to defer. Moving back up the agenda, Doug, Mr. Horton, we'll come back to the replat. Yeah, we'll do that last. Okay.
So we had a little bit of discussion out there, and I just want to bring up something to consider. We understand that we have, the waiver was denied, and the town wishes to have sidewalk along 93rd Avenue. But before we go to the next step, I just want to point out that in other communities, they have a fee in lieu program for something like this, where the owner pays the equivalent dollars into a sidewalk fund. So when the town does do a sidewalk improvement project, there's money there. And in this case, I think, if the town, as far as I know, doesn't have that. But I think they should seriously consider it, and maybe this is the poster child for that reason to have that in your ordinance, where we know the sidewalk will be there maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now. If he pays in, you have that money. And when that sidewalk goes in collectively across 93rd Avenue, across the wetlands, he's done his part. And it prevents sidewalks from going nowhere. And it's done by the town with funds that he participated in at the time it's appropriate. So if there's any way that we can consider that, he wants to proceed with the approval process, or a motion to approve. He wants to build this house. He's going to build a beautiful home there.
I don't doubt
They're
that.
looking for any kind of consideration whatsoever. If we can come up with $1 per square foot, which is very easy math, Ken has a number of how much sidewalk costs per linear foot or per square foot. He's willing to participate into a fee in lieu program. And then when the sidewalk is decided, because the town's going to decide to put the rest of the sidewalk in. We all know that. Then he's done his part.
So Doug, this is uncharted territory for
It
me,
is.
so please bear with me. I don't know what your time frame is. I don't know what type of process time this would take to do this. It would be something that we would have to discuss with the town and the town council to see if this would be any consideration. My initial concern is, we've already had a motion that has been denied, is how do we proceed with that? Can you do you have time to allow us to determine how to best proceed with this? Or do you, because I don't think we can answer your question right now.
And I wasn't
Chairman, there
expecting-
is no program.
Right.
I mean, what Doug is referring to,
Right, it doesn't
it
exist.
doesn't exist in the town of St.
So
Joe.
what we consider is take,
I'm sorry, Doug.
no, go ahead. I should let you.
No, so my point is, I don't believe that would be a proper consideration for approval or contingency for the approval of the re-subdivision.
I'm not saying a contingency. I'm just saying, I believe we would probably have to hold the waiver now. I don't know, at some future date, month, 2, 3, if we could overturn that motion, I don't know. I don't know. But at least, or is a ship sailed? I guess, this is uncharted territory for me. That's what I'm just trying to figure out.
And I'm feeling the same way, but we're willing to accept the denial of the waiver, let the project move forward, and then at a later date, maybe we can address that issue. And then it'll be, that's what he wants to consider.
Then could we consider
So again, Mr. Chairman, and I'm going to move into a hypothetical. I think what they're asking is that you approve the re-subdivision without granting any waiver for the sidewalk. And then at some indeterminate time in the future, they're going to come back and possibly make a donation to a fund that doesn't exist in the town. I'm not sure what exactly would be the facts to allow that to happen. Because there is no such fund. I think if the owner elects to build the home, obviously the builder will have to come back to the town for site approval and other approvals. But I think as part of that approval process, I think I would submit that the sidewalk will have to be installed. And what I think Mr. Reddick is suggesting is, well, possibly not, if the town is willing to do certain things, which, again, these are, I submit that it's something that's very distant, so to speak, and not likely to occur anytime real soon. And so I think in the meantime, I don't know that the homeowner would be allowed to proceed with site approval or approval of the plans while this is all being considered.
I guess there's two different steps. So conjoining the lots, that's to allow them to start the site approval, right? So we want to start that process because obviously we had to do our public notification. If it, just say it is approved, the conjoining of the two lots, we have what, a 30-day grace period before we submit to the county?
No, it's even longer than that. We have, primary approval is good for a year.
I believe that's correct.
No, like you have to wait 30 days.
We cannot go for final approval for at least 30 days.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Right.
So there's time, and then obviously once you have approval, then Doug starts doing the actual plotting of the survey, correct? So, I guess they're two separate entities a little bit, right?
So if they approve it, you're required to put in the sidewalk. That's all they're saying. And then you'd have to see if you wanted to address it differently, or you don't even have to record your plat. You could decide to sell the lot. You could still do that.
Yes. Oh, understood. And that may be an option that we take.
It gives you the 30 days to think about it.
Yes, understood.
So I guess we'd like to proceed with the motion to approve with the waiver.
We would still have, would we have one more motion to make? Because I believe the motion for waiver was only for the northern, so we would then need to make a second motion.
Well, consideration of the waiver for the sidewalk being the interior sidewalk being extended to the north as depicted in the original plat. I think what they're suggesting is they are seeking a waiver of that requirement as part of the replat so that the terminus of that interior sidewalk is aligned with each other on both sides of the roadway, of the right-of-way. So if that would be another waiver consideration.
I'm just trying to figure out the best option.
We understand that. Yeah. We're not trying to make everybody's life difficult, but
So I think what I'm hearing from.
Because I didn't know if they wanted to go through the replat process just to figure out if that's even feasible within the town to even consider. But if you want to go forward and then you guys can make a decision.
We're put in a really horrible position, but we don't want, again, time is money, time is everything, right? We only live on this earth for so long, but,
Okay.
so I guess we want to proceed forward, and then we're still gonna pursue something with this sidewalk. However we do that, I've got to
Okay,
do my homework.
okay, very good. Okay, so bringing it to the board, the next item that we need to address is a waiver regarding the eastern sidewalk on Columbia Court, whether it is extended to the sidewalk to the north or to his suggested cutoff at the neighbor to the east. So with that, I will consider discussion, and after discussion, a motion.
I'm sorry, this is Nancy. I'm confused. So we already made a motion.
Sergio, can you get the drawing? Can everybody offline see this picture that Sergio has on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, go down to the one where the sidewalk stops. I think it was on lot 7.
So Nancy, just to the first motion was, the first action was the denial of waiver on the northern property line. So right now, if the replat goes through, they will be required to put a sidewalk along their northern property line on the southern edge of 93rd. So that was the
Correct.
first waiver. The second one.
And we denied it.
That was denied.
And we denied it.
We denied the
Okay.
waiver, so they will be obligated to put in a sidewalk per our zoning ordinance. The second waiver that is now being discussed is the length of sidewalk on the eastern end of his property line, which is either to that future sidewalk, the blue line on the screen now, or to the sidewalk to the east of Columbia Court where that existing home is shown on Google Maps there. So it'd be a full extension of the sidewalk all the way to the north. So if a waiver was denied, he would be required to run sidewalk from that eastern border all the way up to the blue line.
Okay.
Proposed blue, in that general area where that line is.
Plus, he has to put a sidewalk on 93rd.
Correct. That waiver was, the waiver for no sidewalk was denied.
Correct. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if there's no further discussion, if there's a motion want to be considered?
I want to make a motion to deny having the sidewalk extend to the neighbor across the street,
So,
which is the northern part of lot 7.
so we have a motion which to deny would require the sidewalk would go all the way up to the future sidewalk at 93rd. Is there a second? You can second and still vote either way on the motion. It just opens it up for the board for discussion of the motion.
This is Nancy. I'll second it.
So there's a second for a waiver, a denial of a waiver for the sidewalk to make it extended fully. That opens it up for discussion for the board. Is there any discussion? My comment would be, since the waiver was denied at the 93rd, at the northern end, it would be logical then to deny the motion and to extend the sidewalk all the way up to 93rd. There's no further discussion. I'll open it up for roll call.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Sorry, yes.
Nancy Woland,
No.
and John Kennedy.
Yes, motion to deny waiver, sidewalk will now be extended around his northern and eastern boundary. Now, we had opened it up to public hearing. Public hearing has been closed. There is a motion to approve, deny, or defer the replat. This would allow the two lots to be made into one large lot subdivision. Discussion from the board.
So you still want to go with this, even though the waiver for 93rd was denied?
Yes.
We're gonna go with it because we've already paid the fee for this process.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we're gonna go with the actual
Understand.
install. We may have to decide what to do.
Again, I'll open it up for discussion or a motion from the board.
Make a motion to approve the replat of lots 1 and 2, Shilton Hills First Edition, or first re-subdivision.
I second.
Oh, I didn't catch who seconded it.
Nancy.
Nancy. I have a motion to approve the replat. I'll open it up for discussion from the board. Hearing no discussion, I'll tell you, this is going to be the hardest vote I feel situation you're going through. Open up to the board for, or Sergio for roll call.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes, motion to replat approved. Next on the agenda, we got public hearing announcement request for May 5th. We have Greystone Unit 1, amendment to Block 5 for 13 additional single-family lots on Acre 5 at the intersection of Slate and proposed Moraine Drive. Jack, is that all inside the town? Has that gone through? Okay.
That involves that very small piece that would be from the annex. So we would have done it tonight, but we're waiting for the annexation to be completed, so that's why it's on for next month.
Thank you, sir. Parish Woods.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that at all.
I'm sorry, Jack, can you repeat that? Because I won't do it as well as you would. Jack's coming to the podium.
Yeah, so this involves the small parcel on the east side of Greystone that we recently had annexation of like 2 acres. And so the annexation has a waiting period, and we're in that right now, so it should be complete by next month. So otherwise, we would have done it tonight, but we're advertising for next month for the public hearing for that, and the annexation should be complete.
Appreciate that. It's good to make decisions when it's actually in your
Yep.
town, so. Next, how should we handle this? Because I have some concerns. I understand Parish Woods is not in the town limits yet, and.
Correct. It's the same situation that we're seeing with Greystone Unit 1. It is not currently annexed. It's going through this, it's running the same course as the Unit 1 annexation process. So it's anticipated would be annexed at the end of the month, or near the end of
Okay.
this month, yes.
Then that relieves, okay, then that's good. Okay. Proposed subdivision review, the 27 family lot subdivision on 20 acres. So those will be a public hearing. Jack, I know you'll be at the study session and run us through that one more time. I appreciate that. And if you can make sure someone's here for Parish Woods for the study session, that'd be
I
great.
will email the applicant, let them know that you've requested that both Jack and the applicant for Parish Woods be at the study session in case there's any last minute items for discussion, and we'll set them for public hearing on May 5th.
Beautiful. Do appreciate that. Are we supposed to have public comment or no?
If I'm aware of.
Okay. With that, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got a motion. Anyone second that?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. We're adjourned. I do have, I think, the general question.